people, when they are passing by,
Yeah.
they think that us who touch in this soil, we don't get money. But they don't know that here, for us, we invest little and we get much.
You get a lot more.
Yeah.
You can get a number of buds from the tree and make way more seedlings.
Yeah.
And then sell.
Yeah.
What drives the pricing of the trees? It can help the public understand this.
The pricing of the tree depends
on
how long does the tree take to grow. And sometimes how much do we buy the seeds.
Yes.
That depends on the pricing.
And the care that you have to give the tree. I see. Welcome to another episode of NTV Seeds of Gold, where we bring you inspirational farming stories. And I do not say that lightly, because today we are going to get more than inspired. Tonight we are on Hope Organic Farm in Bulange Mengo. Yeah, right in the middle of town. So you're going to learn a little bit of something about, farming within the city, urban farming. And we all need it. Some of you don't like to go to the village, but hey, this is the episode for you. We get to meet Benon, the brains behind this venture, and boy, are we going to get inspired. Stick around, don't go away.
It is better you first carry out your soil sampling so that the farmer is able to know how much water the plant needs in its entire life. But also do fertilizer quantification or fertilizer budgeting, because I am able to tell that I will need this amount of nitrogen, amount of phosphorus and what have you.
Climate smart techniques, that is not something you often hear about in farming, but it's something we must hear more often in farming, because everybody has a role to play, in fixing the environment. Now, Benon here has welcomed us on his farm that has embraced a great deal of smart climate techniques. And I think that is very impressive. It is nice to have you on the show, Benon.
Thank you, Shira. You are welcome at Hope Organic.
Well, thank you. It is nice to be here. But I moved around a little bit, and I am utterly impressed with what you have on the farm. So first things first, what inspired this? Why do you do this? Why is it the reason you wake up every morning?
I don't want to say that I'm a son of a peasant. I grew up in a farming community right away from Rakai. And after my primary, at the age of 13, it is a certain agriculture institute I joined. Before I even joined the secondary school, that's where I got that inspiration. But on top of that, my father was once an agronomist, so that's where all of this emanation came from.
That's right, yeah.
So from there, I got that inspiration, but basically in organic farming.
Yeah.
So I grew up, and after my senior 6, after Masaka Secondary School, then I had to join Uganda Matters University in Kozi.
Yeah.
And I went on into farming, agriculture, organic farming, agriculture. So from there, I joined the local government. I worked as an agriculture officer. I worked with the Kasanje sub-county. And after there, I also worked with Aloisio Organic. It is also a company within Kampala.
Yeah.
So, given that experience, I had to surrender and started this own enterprise. Yes.
Yeah. So for how long have you had the Hope Organic?
Yeah, since 2021. We have been into this business, so, and we also help farmers to obtain knowledge concerning organic farming. Yes, so we train them, we visit them, they come to us and get trainings. That's how we do.
I see. Well, that is impressive, because judging from your journey, you have gotten to learn so much. It's only fair that you paid for it and teach others. Speaking of a farm within Kampala, Is this an issue for you? You know, putting a farm within Kampala and all. You know, not many people know that a farm can survive within the city, within town. So how has that been for you?
Okay, we want to impress farmers, especially the urban dwellers who have limited resources like land.
Like land, yeah.
Land is too scarce. And in past days, back in the days, people used to inherit acres, hectares
Yeah.
of land. But now they inherit or buy their own space of 100 by 50, some 100 by 100. So we want to see how this farmer is now optimally or optimize this
That
limited
land.
resource.
Yeah.
Now, this farming technique, when you see people like Israelites, they have very small land for farming. So what they do is that they make sure that they quantify each and everything.
Yeah.
If you see someone who is importing each and everything, including the soils,
Yeah.
doing best, you have to at least benchmark from him or her. So, given that experience, we also had to carry out such activities.
Find a way of exhausting, you know, whatever little you have to get a lot from it.
Exactly.
Ah.
So, so the knowledge you have and the current technologies, that's what we implement and come up with such a thing.
Yes, and I like to believe that from this, our views are able to, you know, people who aspire to do something at home. You know, you want to have your little tomato farm, you want to have some more vegetables. From this, they can learn how to do it in the limited space that they have. Now, speaking of organic farming, is it about what it is you do to maintain the garden? Is it?
Organic is not all about only inputs, but it also considers the ethical values, and you know, there is also that child labor. There is also, it is holistic in other words. So we also consider the soil management techniques. We don't do with conventional.
Yes.
So that's the kind of things we do in organic settings. Like for instance, when we were establishing this project, before even planting was done, we made sure that all weeds which were here, we used to cultivate the land or plow the land while burying them, in order to enrich these soils with humus.
Yes.
Because in soils which is rich in humus, that soil can be able to obtain nutrients, enough nutrients. And another thing, it is also easy for it to buffer the soil pH. Because if the pH is low, meaning the soil becomes acidic. And if the soil is acidic, the plants will become stunted. So through those indigenous farming techniques, we can be able to enrich soils to reduce on the cost of buying these synthetic fertilizers, which are expensively high. So that is one of the techniques. Another thing we always associate with applying organic manures, be it for any animal or for any bird. So we incorporate it for us to enrich that soil, so that that soil gets it more. So with these fertilizers, we don't deal with synthetic fertilizers still. We deal with organic fertilizers. On top of manures, also deal with organic fertilizers. So such fertilizers help us to come with such a thing you are seeing. So, and what we know, given in our own knowledge, we believe that the more you enrich the soil, the more yields you get. And also, each stage of the plant needs a unique type of fertilizer. For instance, in the beginning, we use biofertilizers, biostarter fertilizers. Biostarters are normally rich with phosphates, because phosphates facilitate root growth. Eh? So the faster the roots
Go down.
establish into the soil, the faster the plant, and the faster the plant, the bigger the yield. So that's how we do. So at the initial stage, we apply phosphate-based fertilizers. When it comes to flowering, we apply nitrogenous, potassium, calcium-based fertilizers. Those three components. So by doing so, we make sure we are assured that this crop can thrive.
Give you a bounty harvest. Well, we are just a few minutes into the show and we are already learning so much. We are going to take a very short commercial break, and when we come back, we will get a little bit more on the agronomic practices that can give you the greatest yield in the urban center. Keep watching. Welcome back to the show. I'm glad you're still watching. There is something quite impressive about this farm that you're about to learn about. So, Benon, your farm, from the moment someone walks in, there's something unique about it. But I'm sure you have your own take on the uniqueness of this farm. So do tell, what's unique about Hope Organic?
Well, before even the plants are planted there are some unique activities we do. For instance, we plow this land. While plowing, we make sure that we don't throw away any weeds. So make sure that these weeds are buried into the soil. By burying them, they add in the component of humus. And the humus enriches the structure of the soil. When the structure is very good, the nutrients in the soil can be able to be there, twinkling there. Because if the soil lacks structure, the nutrients will just reach away, or they do that, what they call leaching. They go into deeper layers of the soil, and the plants don't benefit.
They don't get
especially these table crops, because they don't have deeper roots. So after which we apply manure at least 2 weeks before planting is done, to make sure that this to give time that this manure is well incorporated with the soil, and even breakdown occurs. If we apply manure at the stage of planting, the crops will scorch and burn out. You can start registering losses from that side. So we make sure that we give time this manure to decompose, and you eventually plant after 2 weeks. Another thing, as our indigenous technical knowledge, we do what I may call rotating the crops.
Crop rotation.
Yes. Before we planted these tomatoes, a season back, we had onions. You know, onions are pungent in nature.
Yes, they are.
Very few notorious pests can invade onions. So when you have onions in the ground, you are sure that most pests are deterred away. So the next crop you are going to plant,
there's a fighting chance.
Yes. So that's one of the ways. So these are tomatoes. They belong to Solanaceae family. So things like crops like green pepper, bitter tomatoes, eggplants, nakati, and all those associated into that family. We cannot plant them here now next season.
You need something that can fight.
Yeah, we are now going to establish a passion fruit project.
Yes.
You know, it is in Pasiflora family. The other one is in a Solanaceae family. The other one was in an alliums family. The onions. So we make sure that we rotate. By doing so, a farmer is able to escape dangers of pest invasion, and even minimize the money is spending on pests and diseases, because
Yes.
these pests are able to inherit the problems of the previous, if you don't rotate if you don't change the variety and even the species.
No,
so that's how we do. That's the uniqueness we have.
That is impressive, I must say. Now, we just entered the rainy season. It's a blessing and a curse in a way, but it is a blessing. The dry season was terrible. It was hectic. And yet your tomatoes look like they did not suffer one bit of the dry season. How did you do that?
We quantify each and everything.
Yeah.
This is not our first time to do tomato farming. For us, we are able to tell how much water does a plant need each day, each week.
Yes.
So we make sure that we have our water enough for these growing plants.
For the growing plants, yes.
So we do our harvesting water systems. It doesn't matter the size of land you have, but what matters a lot is the number of plants you have.
Yes.
We make sure that we quantify this water, and we make sure that how much water does a single plant need in which period and or in which stage. The first stage, we know the amount of water. Second stage, the first stage is planting stage up to flowering stage. Those are around a period of 2-3 weeks. The middle stage is between flowering and fruiting. We know the quantity of water the plant needs. Also, it also depends on the nature of soils you have. So it is better, I want to appeal to you farmers, that it is better you first carry out your soil sampling, so that you know the porosity of the soil, the retention ability, and what have you. Because soil in Ujiri cannot retain water the way this soil retains. So you all run such specific areas, so that the farmer is able to know how much water the plant needs in its entire life. Yeah. So another thing, we don't quantify only water. We don't do only water budgeting, but also do the water, the nutrient, rather the fertilizer quantification or fertilizer budgeting. So fertilizer budgeting is based from the findings or the results of the soil technicians, because I am able to tell that I will need this amount of nitrogen, amount of phosphorus, and what have you. So all these findings can tell a farmer how much to spend on what.
On what,
yes,
and quantities of fertilizer that you're going to need. And before I jumped, to my excitement of how beautiful the tomatoes look, despite the fact that we are from, a dry season, I must ask, you mentioned pests and diseases and your unique way of fighting them, which I find utterly impressive. However, we always have stubborn ones. So do you experience certain pests and diseases that come in? What are the most common ones, and how do you deal with them?
Okay, the most common ones are those pests that belong into Spodoptera family. Those are cutworms. They normally invade crops just after planting. They come and cut off the plant. And the next one is the under Spodoptera still, there is also Twita absoluta, the so commonly called the so-called tomato leaf miner. It is very notorious, and farmers have almost surrendered from growing tomatoes. But what we do about this is we apply integrated pest management systems, which are very unique. For instance, it is always better to assess the presence of the crop, and then you start applying which pesticide you have to deal with. It is very bad to just guess the type of pesticide you use against the pest that is invading you. It is better to understand if it is thrips. If the thrips the pesticide used is different from the Trita absoluta.
Yeah.
So then there are even pesticides which are not compatible with others. You know, farmers have that tendency of mixing up yet they
hoping
don't
they'll
know.
be so effective.
So at least you have to be well versed with some pharmacological information about that. It's better you acquire knowledge to you ask how this pesticide is going to work on what.
Yes.
It's better you do that. It's the same applies to diseases. Different diseases have different fungicides.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that gives us a bountiful harvest, where we see our yield and we're like, yeah, God is on my side this time, is how we choose to plant. So what are some of your planting techniques, the spacing, the windows within which and all that stuff? How have those, elevated your yield?
Well, spacing is very key, but before you talk about the spacing, talk about even the variety. You have to source the best variety. This best variety also determines the spacing.
What determines the variety in a particular place?
The variety is hybrid Victor F1. Under this hybrid Victor, the spacing has to be 5 by 2. 5 from a line to a line, and from a plant to a plant is 2 feet. 5 feet by 2 feet. Yes. Why do we make 5? Because people who is there will see it as a very big space, but you look, it is very wide space when it is still at planting time.
Yes.
But when it comes to as the plant
grows, comes in,
it occupies that space.
So it narrows up.
We also need to leave spaces, because when you leave spaces, you have some objectives or intentions. First intention that is there is an outbreak of a disease like tomato blight. Tomato blight spreads like wildfire.
Yeah. So
by breaking the rate
at which
the speed, you have these spaces work as barriers. So it cannot spread like
it buys some time.
Yes. Even pests, some pests don't jump. They just crawl like those caterpillars. So the moment they touch the ground, they only want to move on the leaf stuff. So when they touch the soils, bare soils, they go back onto the what?
Onto the other leaf.
Yes. So they cannot cross over the other side. Another thing, we have to also to leave this space for air movement, saturation, what have you, so that these crops can have a microclimate environment for them not to suffocate, not fight for light. Phototropism with plants have to exist for them to thrive very well. So that's the reason why we leave such spaces. Again, in management, if you leave those plants to crawl on the ground, there are very many chances of destroying them by stepping on their shoots, by crushing them, by moving. You can easily break in when you are spraying, when you are carrying out activities like weeding, when you are applying fertilizers. Another thing, these spaces also allow us to continue applying fertilizers. But the other thing, you apply it, you mulch, and you leave the plant. So that's the end. But here now you see, these plants can be applied even after harvesting. We are yet to harvest. These plants have now taken more than a month on them while ripe. Yeah, we haven't harvested them yet. But we are going to just harvest. The instance is when you put them on trellis, they are very, the shelf life or the time they spent on that tomato tree is longer than those which are lying on the ground.
Yes.
So that's the added advantage
Of
that
your
we are not afraid of the perishability of the crop,
Yeah.
because that the tomatoes are raised. They don't attract moisture. They don't attract, because once they attract moisture, pathogens will come.
Will come in, yes.
Moisture with pathogens, they work together. So there are very many there are very many chances of a farmer not to get that pressure of marketing. Enyanya zange zivunda zigenda kuvunda kanzitunde mangu. So such stories are not in such arrangements.
But you don't have to worry about it.
All come about from the variety you choose.
Yes.
Hybrid Victor, it has to be the variety.
Yes.
Then the second, it has to come with these agronomical practices, the spacing, the type of fertilizers. Yeah.
You monitor for the pests and diseases and make sure you mitigate them very soon. And you mentioned something very important. Guys, you need to speak to the experts. Don't worry about how much money, because then you will lose more money if you don't speak to the experts, right?
So much money.
Yeah. Find Benon. He got you covered. He got you covered. Now, you mentioned something very important. Our show in itself is called Seeds of Gold.
Sure.
So we are telling people, you know what? You get that seed, oh, believe me, your pockets will be lined for life.
Sure.
So tell me about the markets. Tell me about return on investment. Because people worry about it, you know?
Sure. People shouldn't worry on the market, because we know fluctuation occurs.
So of course.
But if you want to enter into such a venture, you make sure that if you were to run a project like this, for table crops especially, you have to target it in a dry spell.
We are going to take a very short commercial break. I will give you a second for that to sink in, so you can come and invest in this. We'll be back, and then we can go through the garden so you can see what I have seen. You can appreciate what we have appreciated on this farm. And also when we return, you are able to plant this just right in your backyard or on your balcony, for those of you that decided apartments are bay. See you later. Please don't go away.
Target it in a dry spell. Within dry spell, you are 99% sure that the vast majority of farmers are not cultivating.
Are not doing very well.
They are resting. They are waiting for the rain.
For the rain.
Yeah, that's why we emphasize you to first set up a water harvesting system. So when it reaches the rainy season, you start watering your crops.
Yeah.
Another thing now, you asked me about
return on investment.
Return on investment. Yeah, we are very calculative in this. When it comes to managing tomatoes, if it is a rainy season, it will demand a lot of fungicides because spread of fungi of diseases is too much. So now we intend to cultivate our crops during dry season. We make sure that water is there in abundance, and we shall also not spend a lot on spraying fungicides, because fungicides are very expensive. So you know why even Kenyans can supply us with their tomatoes. Much of those Kenyans, their areas receive a monomodal type of climate.
Yes.
Receive once a year.
Once a year.
So most of the time they are in a dry season. They are maybe like in Kalamoja, like where. So they supply, they import here a lot of tomatoes just because their seasons, their rainy seasons are very short. They use that advantage. So I want to appeal to you farmers. If you want to benefit from this crop, you have to target the the right season, which is the dry season.
To cultivate.
Yes, because in a dry season you are sure with the market. You are very sure.
It is there.
Very sure, because now the box here, it's ordinarily they called a ply. It's now at 650,000.
Are you serious?
Yes. Can you imagine that in this a third acre, is this 1.5, rather 1/3 acre? You need, because you need the 3 portions of this land to make an acre.
Yeah.
But we have just
a third.
Yeah. The first harvest, I'm going to invite you back. We are going to harvest the first harvest only.
Yeah.
We are going to harvest a minimum of 30 boxes. That, do you know how much I'm going to earn? So we want to tell farmers that this project can give you money, can make for you money in time of when you establish it in a dry season. Another thing is that we have also quantified these tomatoes. We make sure that this tomato doesn't exceed 3,740 shillings per plant.
Yes.
Yes.
I hear you. I hear you.
Because these are 1,470. This portion only, leave alone the other part.
Yeah.
This, now, you have to invest 3,000 in each plant, 3,740 shillings per plant. But how to break down that money, how to spend on what and when,
yes.
It matters a lot. That's why we appeal to you to consult, to always consult, because you have that money. But how to implement it, how to dispense it matters.
The right way, and be sure.
Yes.
Of
so return on investment, each plant must give you a minimum of 10,000 shillings.
After putting in only 3,000,
yes.
Let me round it off, 3,800 shillings.
Yes. It must give you a minimum of 10,000. Now, can you imagine? If we have 100 plants, that's $1 million. If you have 1,000 plants, that's 10 million. If you have 3,000 plants, that's 30 million. So that's the bare minimum we can say. But still here, right now, this tomato plant can give you over 150 fruits. Mind you, nowadays, tomato is now sold at 500 or maybe three fruits per 1,000.
I know, right?
So when you try to put it on a retail scale, you will find that each plant can give you over 30,000. So that's the better thing of doing this business in a dry spell.
So, Muli 40, there is gold in this.
Yes, yes, there is gold.
I will give you a second for that to sink in, so you can come and invest. Rather interesting. Quite often you find that seedlings are put in little polythene bags whenever you buy your seedlings. Here it's a little bit different. We have the old newspapers, and I like how Benon explains that we do not want to spoil the environment. So you have the old newspapers, bring them on, and we've got a use for them. So Benon, do explain, why do we opt for the newspapers and not, the usual polythene that people go for?
We don't want to deteriorate our soils with non-biodegradable items like polythene papers, plastics, and what have you. So we always encourage farmers to use decomposable items or products. So like these newsprints, they are there. They are not useful to any other things. But for us, we can recycle them, or we can use them to make such potting bags, and you eventually raise your seeds from there. So by doing this, it is different from someone who is using a cavera, because a cavera will inhibit growth if you plant it with it.
With it, yeah.
And even will deteriorate the environment. So what we do, there is a lot of energy people use to removing the cavera.
Yeah, so
the
you plant.
the seedling can also get affected and it withers and dies. So what we do now, we use this paper, and we fold it using just a tiny thing, Vaseline cup like this, and we do we raise the seeds.
Okay.
Yes, from there. By doing so, we plant it after raising the seedling. We plant it directly.
You don't have to remove.
Yeah, it will just decompose with the soil.
Within a couple of days.
Yeah, and the plant will not get that over transplantation stress.
Of course.
Yeah, so a farmer is using less energy, while conserving the environment. Yeah, you tear the cavera, the cassette, you pour a little of seeds. Then the next step, you only put one seed, only one seed per pot. Then you cover it. Don't put it down there, because if you put it in, if you give it, you put it a lot of soil on top of it, it will not germinate. Or by the time it will germinate, to come out, it must have utilized all the energy it is supposed to use to grow. So put it just almost on the top and put soil, a small layer, fine layer of soil, then it will come out vigorously and it will start the life like that. So put just a little soil onto it, just a thin layer. For how long does it take to germinate? Within 3 days, under normal circumstances, they will sprout out. They will show that that thing of germination. They take 2 weeks to reach the planting stage. They take 2 weeks to reach the planting time. You transplant them after 2 weeks. So this variety takes 60 days to reach its ripening time. 60 days, those are 2 months. And it takes 2 months on when it ripens today, it takes 60 days onto the plant. So those people who are afraid of fluctuation and what have you, you have to just follow the marketing trends and assess when the price is good in the market, then that's when you harvest and take it. So there is no pressure that today it is good, tomorrow it is bad. So you just need to communicate with the market so that you know if the market is good, you know the market can prolong for something like a week, 2 weeks or what. So it is better you raise these tomatoes on the trellis, and these tomatoes can extend their shelf life on the on the trees.
If we wanted seedlings, can we get the seedlings from you? And if we can, how much can we get the seedlings?
Yeah, not only distributing or giving seedlings to farmers, but we also accompany it with basic knowledge, because whoever comes here, for him or her to obtain or to get seedlings or seeds has to go through a short training of at least 30 minutes and goes and plants. Then after which, we also leave you in our archives your contacts and address. If you want us to visit you, we can come as per your appointment, or you come back to us and follow up. So that's why we are setting up such demonstration plots for you to come and first learn, come and first get that small skills, and you go. Amount of the price of seedling is is determined by the number of plants you want to take. So those who take very many can get a seedling as low as 200 shillings. So those who take very many and those who take very little, we still also can still sit and negotiate on the what? On the prices.
Well, I hear you. I hear you. Now, speaking of the seedlings, how are we able to keep them as healthy as you have kept yours? What are some of those practices to ensure that our seedlings are, doing really, really well?
You know, these seedlings, since they are in their tender stage, most table crops, when they are in a nursery bed size or when they are still young, they are very palatable to most cutworms, as I told you earlier. So we normally have garlic oil. We normally spread garlic and even bicarbonate of soda. Not baking soda, but bicarbonate. Yeah. So those two elements are very good in suppressing or killing the what? The pests. So we normally use that. Or you can also use the neem-based pesticides because in organic settings we allow them. Yeah.
And they'll ensure that the seedlings are all right and at par.
Yes.
Okay. So we are going to take a walk around and learn a thing or two. We began with the nursery bed, as it is important because that's where we always begin. So we're going to go to the other gardens so you can get a feel of what really happens here. Well, stick around. We are now at the ladies' point. Well, it's not that the plants are female. No. It's that Benon thinks about us, the females. So if you're bored at home and you want to do something, you have a small space, well, Benon has got you covered. You can't do this yourself. See you again next week. Thank you so much for watching this show, and it is always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you.